Hey, calculus kids. This is week 9, Thursday with Dr. Callahan. How are you guys doing? Actually, I'm sorry. It's week 9, Wednesday with Dr. Callahan. So for Thursday, I told you that I will not be here because of a medical appointment. So I decided to switch Thursday and Wednesday. So that way on Wednesday with the sub, you guys go ahead and take your quiz for AP College Board. And today, instead, I'm going to go over a little bit more complicated problems on slope fields. So for the time being, go ahead and answer the following 3 questions on your warm-up log. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create the assignment for today. So that way, for those of you guys who are at home, you will have access to this. All right, so week 9, Wednesday, slope fields and free response questions from AP exam. Make sure you guys check in with me by Wednesday at 9:29 a.m. to ensure that I do add you guys and make sure that your attendance is done correctly. All the items needs to be uploaded by 3 p.m. that day, especially if you're doing this at home and you're at home for hybrid. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the breakdown of what you're going to be doing today. I'm going to start off with 2 examples. It's kind of a difficult word problems with integrations on slope fields. And then after that, I have a quizzes I'm going to have you guys work on. It's 18 questions on slope field. For those of you guys that are at home, we'll set this up so you can work on it independently. And then lastly, look at the 2 and also 4 free response questions that you guys had yesterday. And then also break down with the 5 steps. If you do need to have access to it again, I have it on this link, which will go ahead and take you to this document, and you have all of the ones here on slope fields broken down. So make sure you guys take a look at that. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and get started with your notes today. First thing what you guys to do is take a look at your guided notes for week 9 Thursday. I have a few examples here that's actually leading you from the integration of slope fields into, which is what we're going to get into, of exponential functions like the growth of bacteria and also population counting. This is where your notes will start. Right here is the slope fields additional notes. Moving into this right here. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start right there. Make sure that I am on the right page. Awesome. So go ahead and read the finding domains for differential equations. All right, so given that dy over dx equals 1 over x squared y, and it's given to you that x equals -1, y equals -2, we're going to go ahead and find the particular solution, find the domain, find the equation, and use it to approximate when x equals -1.1, okay? All right, so first things first, you guys know that you want to go ahead and separate the dy and the dx's. So we're going to go ahead and multiply dx on both sides. You have a 1 over y here, so now multiply by the y on both sides. So the dx cancels, y times dy equals, the y here cancels, and you have 1 over x squared dx. Let's go ahead and rewrite this. So I have x to the negative second power. And let's go ahead and integrate both sides. So here, 1 plus 1 equals a 2. So I have y squared equals plus 1 equals a negative 1. So I have a negative 1 over x plus c. I can't go ahead and rewrite this 1 over x as negative x, the negative 1 power, which is totally fine. And I want to get rid of that 2 with a y. So opposite of a division is a multiplication. So I have y squared equals negative x to the negative 1, or I guess that's a negative 2, plus 2c. And now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and square root both sides. So if y equals plus or minus the square root of negative 2 over x plus 2c. It would be nice to know what the c is actually equal to, and in this situation, I am able to do that because given to me. So I'm actually going to take a step back to the original equation, which was right over here, to replace the x and y to find c. So here I have y squared, which is a negative 2 squared over 2 equals negative x. If I move the x down here, it'll be a negative 1 plus c. So that's a 4 over 2 equals a positive 1 plus c. 2 equals positive 1 plus c. c equals 1. So here, 2 times 1 is just going to be 2. So here you have it. You actually found the particular solution for your graph. Now what I would like you guys to do is go ahead and draw your slope field. So I always like to start off with 1, 0. So your slope is 1 over x squared y. So 1 over 1 times 0 is going to be 1 over 0. So that's undefined. So it's going to be a straight line. Okay, and then we're going to pick a few more points. So anything where the y is going to be 0, it's going to be a straight line because it's going to be undefined. So I can just draw a straight line, straight line, straight line, horizontal line on these points. Then let's pick another point. So this is 1, 1. So I will have 1 over 1 squared times 1. So it's just a 1, like that. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the next point right there, which is going to be a 2, 1. So I'm going to have a 4 times 1, so 1/4. And this is a little bit flatter. And notice how as you get to further with the x values, it's just going to get even flatter. So 1/10. And as you get further away, so this is a 0, 1. With this one, it's going to be undefined because the x is going to give it a 0. Here with the negative 1, 1, you have a 1 times 1, so it's just going to be a positive 1. Over here with a negative 2, 1, negative 2 times 2 is a 4. 4 times 1 is a 1 over 4, so it's going to repeat the same kind of flat slope. And I have a guess that this one's going to be even flatter. And then just continue on with this until you have created a slope field. And so if you take a look at this part here, this is kind of where your slope field would look like. And it's all a positive slope in the numerator, but the denominator, it's more of a negative slope. Okay, let's go ahead and find the domain. So as you're looking at this picture here, the domain is going to be the x values here. Okay, so when you go ahead and take a look at your equation, which was y is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 2 over x plus 2. If you graph this, you will see that your graph looks something like this. And if you kind of look at the direction here where it's leading, it does actually indeed go in this direction. So looking in terms of your domain, it's going to be from a negative infinity over to 0. So let's go ahead and find the equation of the tangent line that's through 1, negative 2. In order to find the tangent line, you need to have the slope, where your slope is dy over dx, which is 1 over x squared y. So let's plug this in. 1 over negative 1 squared times negative 2. So 1 times negative 2 is a negative 1/2. That's your m. So here's my equation. I'm going to use point slope form. Replace the m with a negative 1/2. X minus your x value here is going to be negative 1, so plus 1. Your y value is a negative 2. So let's distribute this. Y plus 2 equals a negative 1/2 x minus 1 over 2. And then subtract the 2 on both sides, which if I make the bottom a 2, the top will become a 4. Y is equal to negative 1 over 2x minus 5 over 2. And that is my equation. So the last part says, let's go ahead and use this information to go ahead and approximate the y, parenthesis, negative 1.1. So when x is negative 1.1, what is y? Well, it's given to you that equations y equals negative 1 over 2x minus 5 over 2 from the last example. So y in this case is equal to negative 1 over 2 times negative 1.1 minus 5 over 2. Now you can go ahead and plug this into your calculator. The first piece is going to be a 5 or 0.55 minus 2.5, which is going to give you a negative 1.95, which is the answer to y of negative 1.1. And that is your answer. Okay, let's go on to the second example then. So this is kind of where we're going to get started with population, proportionality, and estimation of population. Okay, so in order to make the equation complete, you must have to have a k and a c. And when you're given 2 points, you're going to use the first point to find c, and you're going to use the second point to find k. So go ahead and read the question below for example 2. All right, so for A, if P of 0 equals 500, so X equals 0, Y equals 500, find P of T in terms of T and K. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write P prime, which is the slope of P, is equal to K times 800 minus P. So after that, you know, another way of writing P prime is dP over dK, or dt, sorry, which is equal to K times 800 minus P. We're going to go ahead and integrate this. So when I integrate this, first things first, I need to go ahead and rearrange and move the dt's and the p's. So I'm going to multiply by dt on both sides. And I want to go ahead and get rid of the 800 minus p, so I'm going to divide it. So on the left side, dt cancels. I have dp over 800 minus p, which is going to be equal to, this part cancels, k dt. So if I look at the left side, I'm going to have to do a u substitution. So if I say let u be 800 minus p, du is a negative 1 dp, and then dp equals negative du. So let's replace this. dp here on top is a negative du over u. Isn't that the same thing as the integral of 1 over u du, which is the same thing as integral 1 over u, which is ln u. So 1 over, or excuse me, negative ln u, and u is 800 minus p. On the right side, if you're going to be integrating k, the integral of k is going to be kt plus c. Now I want to get rid of the e, or the ln, so I'm going to go ahead and insert e on both sides. Ln cancels, and I am going to be left with I don't like really having that negative right here. So if I get rid of that negative by multiplying by a negative 1, this part here will have a negative kt minus c. So I have 800 minus p equals. Now what you can do with the c is you can bring it in front of the e. So c e to the negative kt. And then if you take a look at the p here, if I subtract 800 on both sides, I would have negative p equals negative ce to the negative kt minus 800. Now, you guys know that if I were to go ahead and use this piece right here, and I replace all the x's with a 0, or in this case, it's more of p of t, so t equals 0, and p equals 500, I will have a negative 500 equals a negative c e to the whatever k is here. It is going to give me a e to the 0, which is simply just going to be a 1. So then I will have a 500 equals negative c plus, because I'm going to get rid of that negative right there. So that becomes a negative, and this is going to become a positive 800. So then when I subtract it, c is going to be equal to 800 minus 500, which is 300. All right, let's go on to the next part, which is b. Okay. So for b, what about when p of 2 equals 700, find k. Now from the last example, p prime equals k times 800 minus p. You have now known that c is going to be equal to 300. So from part A, it's given to you that negative p is equal to 300 e to the negative kt minus 800. Well, if p is going to be 700, I'm going to put a negative 700 equals 300 e to the negative k times t, which is a 2, minus 800. Now, if I were to add the 800 on both sides, I'll have 100 on the left side, On the right side, I'll have 300 e to the negative 2k. Let's go ahead and divide it by 300 on both sides. So then you have 1/3 on the right side, e to the negative 2k. Now going back to Algebra 2 Honors, how do you get rid of the e? You ln both sides. So you have a negative 2k equals ln 1/3. If you use your calculator, that is going to give you, well, I could just leave it as ln 1/3. I don't have a calculator, sorry. Divided by 2, k equals ln 1/3 divided by negative 2. So please plug that into your calculator, which should give you a decimal of some sort. All right, so last part. Find the limit. So it's given to you that P of t is equal to negative 300 e to the 1/2 ln 1/2 t plus 800. So you want to do this as a limit. You put LIM as t approaches infinity. Now you can go ahead and try to use this as a chart and just plug in t as a really big number. I will probably graph it and then do a second calc to put in a bunch of values. But ultimately, when you put in the infinity to the infinity, you will get that this is just going to equal to 800, which is your answer. All right, you guys, I know this one was kind of a really difficult problem, but don't worry, we're going to talk more about this with the weeks to come. And we'll have plenty of time to kind of like review this material. So for the time being today, I would like you guys to take the time and go ahead and take a look at some of the examples that I have over here. Kind of get yourself acquainted with example 1, 2, 3, and then also example 4, and just review them. When you're done with that, I'm going to have you start the quizzes on the slope field. So if you go ahead and actually, I'm going to assign this so that way you have access to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a due by today assign. And then you're just going to go to joinmyquiz.com and then make sure you type in the code 229-62940. All right. As always, stay safe and healthy and take care of one another. I'll see you guys next time.